It was a rainy Thursday evening when Leah started her closing shift at Brew Haven, a cozy, dimly lit coffee shop nestled on the edge of downtown Minneapolis. The kind of place that attracted college students during the day and loners at night. Leah, 26, had been working there part-time for over a year. She liked the quiet evenings, the soft hum of jazz through the speakers, and the smell of roasted beans that clung to everything, even her coat. Her life was ordinary. A small apartment, a cat named Cleo, and a growing sense of unease she couldn't quite place lately. That night, the cafe was nearly empty by 9:30 p.m. The rain kept most people away, and she'd only served 4 customers in total. The last customer was a middle-aged man in a dark coat who came in around 9:10. He didn't say much, just ordered a black coffee and sat near the back corner, close to the frosted window. His face wasn't particularly memorable, pale, maybe tired, but his eyes, they seemed a bit too focused. He never looked at his phone, never read a book. He just stared straight ahead, not even sipping his coffee. Leah tried not to pay attention. People were weird sometimes, especially at night. But when 10 p.m. rolled around, their closing time, she noticed he hadn't moved. The cup was still full. She stepped out from behind the counter, gently clearing her throat. "Sorry, we're closing now," she said, trying to sound polite. The man didn't respond at first. Then, without shifting his gaze, he slowly stood up, nodded once, and walked out into the rain. Leah locked the door behind him and turned the sign to closed. She felt a strange sense of relief, like something heavy had left the room. She began her usual closing routine, wiping down tables, dumping out the remaining pastries, shutting down the espresso machine. At around 10:25, she heard the soft chime of the front door. That was impossible. She had locked it. Leah turned sharply. The door was still closed, the lock in place. She checked it again. Still locked. She even tugged on it to be sure. Maybe she had imagined it. The rain against the windows was loud, steady, almost hypnotic. She shook it off and went to the back to take out the trash. The alley behind the shop was tight, lined with overflowing dumpsters and the constant drip of water from a broken pipe above. As she opened the lid of the trash bin, she heard a sound, a soft scuffling, like shoes on wet pavement. She turned quickly. No one was there, but the lid of the neighboring dumpster, the one they never used, was slightly ajar. She hesitated, then told herself she was being paranoid. Tossing the bag in, she slammed the lid shut and walked quickly back inside. That's when she noticed it. The man's coffee cup. It was back on the table where he had sat. Full. Steaming. She froze. Her mind tried to rationalize it. Maybe she hadn't noticed it earlier. Maybe she forgot to clear it. But she had cleared every table. She remembered wiping that exact spot. Her rag had caught on a splinter in the wooden edge. She had cursed under her breath. She remembered. Leah backed toward the counter, heart thudding. Her phone was charging near the register. She reached for it, but the screen was black. Dead. That didn't make sense either. It had been at 42% when she plugged it in. Suddenly, the lights flickered, then dimmed to a low humming glow. She reached for the breaker switch beneath the counter, but stopped cold when she heard it. A soft whisper from the back corner. "Leah?" She turned slowly. The man was sitting there again. Same coat, same seat, same untouched cup of coffee. Only now His head was tilted to the side, and his mouth was moving slightly, whispering her name over and over. She wanted to scream, to run, but her body wouldn't move. Her limbs felt heavy, as if something invisible pressed down on her. Her ears were ringing, drowning out even the sound of the rain. The man stood up. Leah's vision blurred for a second, but she could see that his face wasn't right anymore. The skin sagged strangely around his mouth. His eyes, too large, too black, seemed to drink in the light around them. He stepped forward. One step, then another. His hand stayed at his sides, fingers twitching. Leah backed away until she hit the espresso machine. Her hands fumbled for anything, a mug, a tool, something to throw. She grabbed a metal milk-frothing pitcher and hurled it at him. It passed right through. He didn't flinch. She ran for the back door, locked. She tried the front, still locked. She was trapped. When she turned around again, the man was gone. Just the coffee cup, still full, still steaming. Leah stood there for nearly 5 minutes, back against the door, tears rolling silently down her face. Eventually, the lights returned to normal. Her phone buzzed, back to life at 41%. She never saw the man again, but she never worked another closing shift either. 3 months later, a former co-worker sent her an article. It was about a man named Peter Alwyn, a regular customer at Brewhaven years ago, who had gone missing after his wife and daughter died in a fire. He was last seen sitting in the back corner of the shop, drinking a black coffee. They said he was quiet, distant. The police found his body 2 weeks later, in an abandoned building not far from the coffee shop. He had been dead for at least 48 hours when they found him. But the creepy part? The coroner reported that his time of death matched the exact minute Leah saw him vanish in the shop. It was past midnight when Jordan arrived at Brewcraft and Company, a small, artsy coffee shop tucked into a quiet street in Portland's Northwest District. He had the overnight cleaning shift, a job most employees avoided because of how unsettling the building felt at night. The shop was beautiful by day, full of character with its mismatched chairs, exposed brick walls, and the massive hand-painted mural of a forest stretching across the back wall. But at night, something about the silence inside made the place feel like it was holding its breath. Jordan, 29, was a night owl. After dropping out of college and going through a rough patch, he had started rebuilding his life. Cleaning shifts were his way back in. Quiet, predictable, no customer service, and no judgmental eyes. He didn't mind being alone. In fact, he preferred it. He clocked in at 12:03 a.m., nodding at Michelle, the evening manager, as she handed off the keys. "Hey, don't forget the freezer door sticks again," she said, forcing a tired smile. "Oh, and the back hallway light flickers. Maintenance is still slacking." Jordan nodded. "No worries. Got my playlist and some Red Bull." He always started his shift the same way: mop the floors, clean the restrooms, wipe down the tables, then do the kitchen last. The routine helped him stay focused. But that night, by the time he got to the back hallway, the energy in the building had shifted. The hallway led to the freezer, pantry, and a small storage room. It had always felt a little off, like it didn't belong to the rest of the shop. A narrow corridor with faded beige walls and a single flickering bulb that buzzed relentlessly overhead. That night, the buzzing was gone. Silence had replaced it, heavy and sudden. Jordan stood there for a moment, mop in hand, wondering why he hadn't noticed it sooner. The bulb wasn't flickering. It was completely off now. Darkness swallowed the hallway except for the dim blue glow leaking from the cracked freezer door at the end. He sighed and walked toward it. The freezer door was slightly ajar, and a faint mist poured out onto the floor. He pushed it open slowly, expecting the usual rush of cold air. Instead, there was nothing. The temperature inside was fine, normal, but what made him stop cold was the smell. It wasn't the sour scent of spoiled milk or forgotten pastries. It was something older, like damp stone rust and wet wood. He couldn't place it. He stepped inside, phone flashlight on, and checked the shelves. Everything looked normal. Then he turned and saw it. A handprint. Not just any handprint, his own. On the inside of the freezer door, smudged and fresh, right where his hand had never been. He stared at it, confused. Was he sleep-deprived? Maybe he had touched it without realizing? But the print was perfectly outlined in frost, his fingers spread unnaturally wide. Suddenly, his flashlight flickered, then died. Total darkness. Jordan stepped backward, heart hammering, reaching for the door. But the moment his hand touched the metal, it slammed shut behind him. Panic erupted in his chest. He pushed, kicked, yelled. Nothing. The air inside grew thick, not cold but dense, like something was filling the space. Then he heard it. A whisper, right behind him. "Why'd you leave me here?" He turned so fast he slipped on the frosty floor, landing hard on his side. Pain jolted through his ribs, but he scrambled up, eyes wild. The light on his phone flickered back on for just a second, long enough to see a figure crouched in the far corner, a child, no more than 8 years old, pale skin, blackened fingertips, wearing a soaked, faded red hoodie. The hood was up, casting a deep shadow over the face, but Jordan could see its mouth moving. "Why'd you leave me?" The voice was layered, like two people speaking at once, a child and something older, much older. Jordan slammed his body against the door over and over. Finally, it gave way. He stumbled out into the hallway, panting, freezing, and completely alone. The light was back on, buzzing, as if nothing had happened. He locked the freezer immediately and left the mop behind. Screw the rest of the shift. He needed air. Outside, the night air was crisp. Rain had stopped. He leaned against the side of the building and lit a cigarette, hand still shaking. He thought about what he saw. He tried to tell himself it was a hallucination, a trick of the dark and cold. Maybe he dozed off and dreamed the whole thing. That had to be it, right? But the next night, curiosity got the better of him. He went back, off the clock, and asked Michelle if anything weird had ever happened in the back hallway. She laughed at first, then stopped when she saw his face. "You felt it, didn't you?" she asked quietly. He didn't answer. "There's a reason I never go back there alone," she continued. "A few years ago, before you were hired, one of our dishwashers quit out of nowhere. He was cleaning the pantry and said he heard someone knocking from inside the freezer. He swore a kid's voice was asking to be let out. Management brushed it off, thought he was high. But what?" Jordan asked. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone. After a moment of scrolling, she handed it to him. It was a news article from 2008. A 10-year-old boy named Lucas Wentworth had gone missing just 2 blocks from the coffee shop. He had last been seen wearing a red hoodie. Police found signs he had been hiding out in one of the alley storage units behind a row of shops, including Brewcraft and Company. They never found his body. Jordan didn't finish the article. He didn't need to. That voice in the freezer, the handprint, the eyes watching him from the dark corner, it all lined up. He never took another night shift again, but he still passes by Brewcraft sometimes, during the day, just to see if the freezer door is still sticking, and every time he does, he swears he hears it buzz open, just slightly, like it's waiting for someone to step back inside.